North Carolina has it all. The Blue Ridge Mountains, Atlantic beaches, the Research Triangle, and barbecue that will make you cry. But here is what the tourism board will not tell you. Some North Carolina cities are drowning in crime and poverty, and economic collapse so severe you would think you took a wrong turn into a different decade. We are counting down 10 cities in North Carolina you should never move to. Crime rates that will shock you. Poverty so entrenched, it is generational. Like this video if you value honesty over hype. Subscribe because knowledge is survival. Let's dive in. Number 10, Gastonia. Gastonia has about 81,600 people and sits just outside Charlotte. You'd think proximity to a major metro would mean opportunity. Instead, Gastonia's crime rate tells a different story. The overall crime rate sits at 48.49 per 1,000 residents, making it 113% more dangerous than the US average. Let that sink in. More than double. In 2020 alone, Gastonia recorded 726 violent crimes, 9 murders, 142 robberies, 556 assaults. Add 3,173 property crimes to that, and you've got a city where your chance of becoming a victim is 1 in 21. Property crimes are rampant here. Burglary, theft, car break-ins. It's not just bad luck, it's a pattern. The median household income sits at $60,554, which sounds decent until you realize the poverty rate ranges between 14.3% and 17.6% depending on the source. That's nearly 1 in 5 residents struggling to make ends meet. Per capita income is only $35,365. Gang activity and drug problems fuel much of the crime. Gastonia has that blue-collar industrial town vibe, former textile mills, auto manufacturing roots. But those glory days are fading, and what's left is a city trying to hold on while crime statistics keep climbing. Number 9, Henderson. Henderson sits in Vance County, and the numbers don't lie. The total crime rate is 71.89 per 1,000 residents. Violent crime occurs at 16.26 incidents per 1,000 people. Property crime hits 55.63 incidents per 1,000. Those are not typos. Those are real statistics affecting real people. Henderson's crime spans every category: assault, robbery, burglary, theft. The city struggles across the board. It is systemic. And for residents and visitors alike, that makes Henderson a place you need to approach with serious caution. The crime statistics deserve attention from both residents and people considering moving here. This is not a city where you can ignore the data and hope for the best. Reidsville is home to 14,125 people, but its crime rate punches way above its weight class. Overall, crime sits at 56.71 per 1,000 residents. That is 124% higher than the North Carolina average. Your chance of becoming a victim is 1 in 17. Property crime dominates at 47.25 per 1,000 residents. But the violent crime tells the darker story. In 2020, this small city recorded 138 violent crimes, including 6 murders, 12 robberies, and 115 assaults. 6 murders in a town of 14,000 people. That is not normal. That is a crisis. Gang activity and drug-related crime fuel Reidsville's statistics. The city has struggled for years to get control of the situation. Some neighborhoods are relatively safe. Others are not so much. The problem is, you cannot always tell which is which until you are already living there. Reidsville sits in that dangerous zone where small-town living meets big city crime problems, the worst of both worlds. Number 7, Rockingham. Rockingham's population barely breaks 9,000, but its crime statistics are off the charts. The crime rate sits at 54.34 per 1,000 residents, making it 110% more dangerous than the North Carolina average. Some sources cite even higher figures. Either way, the numbers are bad. In 2020, Rockingham recorded 66 violent crimes, 4 murders, 14 robberies, 42 assaults. That's disproportionately high for such a small population. Located in Richmond County, outside Charlotte, Rockingham has become synonymous with gang and drug activity. Drive through, and you'll see a town that time forgot. Old buildings, closed storefronts, the kind of place where opportunity left decades ago, and crime moved in to fill the void. Much of Rockingham's crime can be directly attributed to gang violence and the drug trade. Small towns are not supposed to have these problems, but Rockingham does, and it has been struggling with them for years. The northeast part of the city is reportedly safer, according to some residents. But safer is relative when you are talking about a city that is more than double the danger of the state average. Here's the pattern you are starting to see. These are not massive cities with crime hidden in sprawling neighborhoods. These are small towns where everyone knows everyone, and yet violent crime persists at rates that rival major metros. Gastonia's property crime epidemic, Henderson's across-the-board violence, Reedsville's disproportionate murder rate, Rockingham's gang activity. Each city has its specific flavor of danger, but they all share common threads: poverty, lack of economic opportunity, and drug activity that fuels the violence. These cities are not tourist traps or hidden gems waiting to be discovered. They are struggling communities where crime statistics tell a story most people do not want to hear. And we are only at number 7. The next 3 cities make these look mild by comparison. Number 6, Albemarle. Albemarle sits near the North Carolina coast with a population of 16,628. The crime rate is 6,588 per 100,000 people, 149% higher than the state average. Your odds of becoming a victim? 1 in 16. Those are not Vegas odds you want to take. Albemarle's problems run deeper than crime statistics. The city suffers from entrenched poverty, lack of employment opportunities, and serious quality of life issues. These are not separate problems. They are interconnected. No jobs means no opportunity. No opportunity breeds desperation. Desperation fuels crime. It is a cycle that Albemarle has struggled to break for years. The economy here never recovered from the collapse of the textile industry. Mills that once employed thousands shut down. The jobs left. The people who could afford to leave followed. What remained was a community trying to survive on scraps. Property values dropped. Tax revenue declined. Public services suffered. And crime filled the vacuum left by opportunity. Walking through Albemarle, you see the remnants of better days. Historic downtown buildings that once housed thriving businesses now sit empty or barely hanging on. The people who stayed are stuck in a place that cannot provide what they need to thrive. It is not that Albemarle residents do not want better. It is that the economic foundation crumbled, and rebuilding from nothing is nearly impossible. Number 5, Williamston. Williamston is tiny, just 5,217 people. But do not let the small population fool you. This town has serious crime problems. Violent crime occurs at 12.65 per 1,000 residents. Property crime hits 66.7, 1 per 1,000 residents. The total crime rate is 79.36 per 1,000 residents. Think about that. In a town of barely 5,000 people, you are looking at crime rates that rival much larger cities. Williamston should not have these problems. Small towns are supposed to be safe. Everyone knows everyone. Community policing actually works. But Williamston proves that population size does not protect you from urban-level crime. The question becomes, how does a town this small accumulate crime statistics this high? The answer is the same as everywhere else on this list. Economic decline, limited job opportunities, young people leaving because there is nothing to stay for. What is left is a shrinking tax base, underfunded services, and residents who cannot afford to leave even though they might want to. Williamston represents a trend across rural North Carolina. Small towns that once thrived on tobacco, textiles, or manufacturing now struggle to survive. When the economic engine dies, everything else follows. Schools deteriorate, infrastructure crumbles, crime rises, and the people who remain are left wondering how their hometown turned into a place they barely recognize. Number 4, Whiteville. Whiteville has about 5,000 residents and some of the most shocking crime statistics in North Carolina. Violent crime ranges from 14.61 to 17.2 per 1,000 residents, depending on the data source. Property crime is even worse, between 95.35 and 107.33 per 1,000 residents. The total crime rate is 109.97 per 1,000 residents. Your chance of becoming a crime victim in Whiteville is 1 in 6. Let me repeat that, 1 in 6. If you and 5 friends move to Whiteville, statistically, one of you will be a victim of crime. Those are horrifying odds. But here's what makes Whiteville truly stand out. It has reported some of the highest citywide murder rates in North Carolina in recent years. We are talking about a town of 5,000 people experiencing murder rates that would make big cities nervous. Property crime absolutely dominates. Theft, burglary, and vehicle break-ins happen at rates that are almost unbelievable. But the violent crime is what keeps residents awake at night. Located in Columbus County, Whiteville is another example of a small town where economic opportunity evaporated. The jobs left, and the young people followed. What remained was a community struggling with poverty, drug problems, and the crime that inevitably follows. Drive through Whiteville, and you will see a place trying to hold on. But the statistics tell the story of a community losing that battle. The scariest part about Whiteville is not just the crime rate. It is that the crime is overwhelming. In cities like Charlotte or Raleigh, crime might be concentrated in specific neighborhoods. You can avoid certain areas and dramatically reduce your risk. In a town of 5,000, there is nowhere to hide. The crime is not isolated to one bad neighborhood. It is everywhere. Here is what connects Albemarle, Williamston, and Whiteville. They are all small communities experiencing urban-level crime without urban resources to fight it. Big cities have large police forces, specialized units, federal task forces. These small towns are making do with skeleton crews, trying to patrol areas they can barely cover. The economic collapse that triggered the crime problems also destroyed the tax base needed to fund solutions. And as bad as these 3 cities are, we have not even reached the most dangerous places yet. The top 3 cities on this list have crime statistics so severe, they make Whiteville look manageable. We are talking about places where danger is not an exception. It is the daily reality. Number 3, Wadesboro. Wadesboro sits in Anson County with just 5,200 residents, but it has earned a brutal distinction: North Carolina's most dangerous area per capita. The violent crime rate is 18.94 per 1,000 residents. Property crime hits 64.27 per 1,000 residents. This isn't just bad for a small town, it's catastrophic. 18.94 violent crimes per 1,000 people in a town of 5,200. That means Wadesboro experiences roughly 98 violent crimes annually. Murders, assaults, robberies, in a town small enough that you would recognize half the victims and probably know some of the perpetrators. That's the kind of violence that traumatizes entire communities. Wadesboro's crime statistics didn't happen overnight. This is decades of economic decline, vanishing opportunity, and systemic poverty creating a perfect storm. The town lost its economic base. Young people with options left. Those who remained often lacked the resources to escape. Drug activity took root and flourished, and crime became not just common, but expected. What makes Wadesboro particularly heartbreaking is that it is not a large city where you can point to specific bad neighborhoods and say, avoid those areas. It's a tiny town. Everyone lives in close proximity. The crime isn't isolated. It's pervasive. For residents, there's no safe bubble. You are just hoping you are not the next statistic. Number 2, Kinston. Kinston is widely considered one of the most dangerous cities in North Carolina. The violent crime rate is very high. The murder rate is alarming. And residents will tell you that crime is not an occasional problem. It is a daily reality. Kinston's decline mirrors other cities on this list. Economic opportunity disappeared. The jobs that once sustained the community vanished. Young people fled for cities with better prospects. What remained was a shrinking population, declining tax revenues, and rising crime that overwhelmed local law enforcement's capacity to respond. The city has struggled for years to reverse the trend. Community programs, increased policing, economic development initiatives, all have been tried with limited success. The problem is that crime is a symptom, not the disease. The disease is entrenched poverty, lack of opportunity, and a drug epidemic that feeds the violence. Treating symptoms without curing the disease does not work. Kinston residents are tired of the violence, tired of the drugs, tired of watching their hometown deteriorate. Many stay because they cannot afford to leave, not because they want to be there. It is a community trapped in a cycle it cannot break, and the crime statistics are the visible manifestation of that trapped desperation. Number 1, Lumberton. Here we are. Lumberton is the most dangerous city in North Carolina, and the statistics are absolutely staggering. Population roughly 19,200. Violent crime rate 20.18 per 1,000 residents. Property crime rate 122.21 per 1,000 residents. Total crime rate 13,334 per 100,000 people. Your chance of becoming a crime victim in Lumberton is 1 in 27. The city is 435% more dangerous than the North Carolina average. Lumberton does not just lead the state in crime. It dominates every category. Highest violent crime, highest property crime. It is a complete disaster. But the crime is only part of the story. The poverty rate in Lumberton is 31%. Nearly 1 in 3 residents lives below the poverty line. The median household income is just $43,114, far below state and national averages. Per capita income sits at $37,047. Between 2022 and 2023, employment declined by 1.24%. Robeson County, where Lumberton sits, has seen poverty rates steadily increase for about 15 years. 33% of the county lives in poverty. 46% of children live in poverty. Nearly half of all children in Robeson County are growing up poor. That is not a statistic. That is generational trauma. Much of Lumberton's crime is directly tied to drug activity. The city sits along major trafficking routes, and drugs flow through constantly. The drug trade fuels violent crime, property crime, and the cycle of poverty that traps residents. Lumberton's demographics reflect North Carolina's diversity. The population is 37.9% black, 34% white, and 13.2% Native American. But that diversity does not protect anyone from the violence. Crime does not discriminate. It affects everyone. Look, North Carolina has incredible cities. Raleigh is thriving. Charlotte is booming. Asheville is beautiful. The Research Triangle is one of the most educated regions in America. But these 10 cities are struggling in ways that statistics can barely capture. Crime driven by poverty. Poverty driven by lack of opportunity. Lack of opportunity driven by economic collapse. It is a cycle that is incredibly difficult to break. We are not saying never visit these cities. We are saying understand the risks. Research specific neighborhoods. Talk to locals. And recognize that many residents are working hard to improve their communities despite overwhelming odds. These are not bad people. These are communities that got left behind when industries collapsed, jobs disappeared, and investment dried up. The residents who remain deserve better. They deserve safety. They deserve hope. Subscribe for more honest breakdowns of American cities. We tell the truth even when it is uncomfortable. Because knowledge is power, and you deserve to know what you are walking into.